painted in one color with chairs and desks. Now they're also becoming artsy and very much more creative. Network's Siphumelele Zondi and cameraman Zamokwakhe Ngcobo visited the Google developers space in Lagos in Nigeria, and the interior of the work area for tech startups has been designed by Nigeria's Space Finish.
At first glance, you wouldn't think this is a workspace. There are bicycles that aren't really bicycles. There are desks that I suppose one can use to work. There's a fake grass and all kinds of beautiful colors. This is the Google developer space in the suburb of Ikoyi in Lagos in Nigeria.
So, normally when you see one of these bicycles, there would be a treadmill at gym. McKenna here seems to think it is a treadmill at gym, but it's not. Sometimes you may find them as bicycles on the road. Here, they are alternative workspaces. You find them at the Google developer space, which has been designed by Space Finish, a locally based company here in Lagos in Nigeria.
The interesting thing about this space is it's a space that's designed for startups across Africa. They all come here and they get mentorship, they get Google investments, and we wanted to create a space that was very dynamic, right? Because in the past, what you find out is that you're confined to the four walls, but we are breaking down those barriers, and in this space, everything is movable. Your desks is movable, the booths are movable, the walls are movable. So you have a place where people are now in control of how they want to use the space.
Google says they hope this space will be used by technology startups that aren't just based in Nigeria, but from the rest of the African continent as well. While it's reported that there are more than 600 tech hubs in Nigeria, Google says they chose the West African economy for this as they saw a shortage of spaces that can be used by those that want to find people to collaborate with and an area they can work from. In other parts of Africa, like South Africa and Kenya, they partner with already existing tech hubs.
And we found that, we have a very strong and thriving developer and startup ecosystem in Nigeria, but there are a lot of limitations that they have in terms of infrastructure, in terms of access to, a free space where they could come and have a hackathon or a code lab, those kinds of events that they tend to need to do. They're restricted on, expensive internet, they're restricted on, access to the cost of the space, for example, could leave a lot of people out. So that's why we decided to come and have one in Lagos. If we also take a look at other parts of the continent and see that there's a similar need, we may decide to go there.
The representative of the Nigerian Communications Minister, Abimbola Alale, says she hopes Google can expand on what they've started in Nigeria.
For such platforms, it would be good to have it in other areas, because it's not everybody that we have, access to transport themselves to Lagos. Lagos is very far for some, but if there's an inflow of people into Nigeria, if they want to come, it translates to so many things. Actually, even tourism, even visiting, more people come into Nigeria. So it translates into so many dynamics of the economy.
Space Finish founder Remy Dada says it's not just tech hubs like Google Developer Space that need to be attractive inside. He says a lot more companies need to consider that their employees spend much of their day in the office. When at work, they need to find inspiration from beautiful surroundings.
One of the challenges that I faced as an architect was architects were never part of the full conversation. We're not adding value at different points of the value chain. It was always about the aesthetics and the design. But right now, we want to take the conversation even further and talk about the impact that design has on business, has on recruiting, has on retention, has on your bottom line, has on your operations, right? So for us, we feel that 5 years down the line, you have a management problem. Instead of hiring a management consultant firm, you hire a design firm to solve that problem.
Apart from Google, they've done work for international firm PwC and local companies like Andela and Vibranium Valley. They say well-designed office spaces should make one forget about the heavy traffic and stressful pressures that come with living in Lagos.
Well, for more on the story, we are now joined in studio by Network's anchor and producer, Siphumelele Zondi. A very good afternoon to you. We thank you very much. Fresh off the jet from Lagos.
Yeah, a bit exhausted as well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
So let's delve into this. What essentially is the actual purpose of tech hubs?
All right, so tech hubs are spaces that young or tech startups can be part of. Some of them ask people to pay, some of them you get them for free. There are brains that can help you escalate some of your ideas, scale some of your ideas. You can collaborate, you can find like-minded people that you can collaborate with. It can be a space for you to work, because we do know that office spaces are quite expensive a lot of the time. So, and a lot of startups don't really have that kind of money. So they go to tech hubs, and that's where they are based a lot of the time.
Do they actually serve that purpose? I was looking at you on the bicycle there.
Yeah.
It's essentially supposed to be a workstation, but how does one work and cycle at the same time?
Well, I think the idea there is that workspaces are now supposed to be different, because they say you spend that's what the folks at Google say, at least, you spend a lot of the time at work anyway, so work might as well be a place that is inspirational in a way. I guess if you're cycling as well as you work on your desk, you are exercising at the same time. But yes, a lot of them do serve that purpose. But I have been to one or two which expand beyond just being tech hubs, like the M Hub in Malawi, which opens up to most entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm. Is Google not then acting in a rather cannibalistic manner when they get into that space too?
They say they are going to try not to be, as they say that they are not going to open, or at least they're not sure whether they're going to open more across the African continent. They say there was a need in Nigeria for this, because they feel, even though there are over 600 tech hubs in Nigeria, they say there was a shortage for this kind of space, which is also not expensive for Nigerians, as it is a country with people who have a lot of tech ideas. They say they're not going to open more, so they try not to be cannibalistic.
Why Nigeria? If we have a look at all the other countries in Africa that are promoting 4IR, you know, that are just as developed when it comes to the tech industry and their contribution to the 4IR.
I think it's because, one, Nigeria is Africa's biggest population, the population size of Nigeria as well. They also did say that it's a country that creates a lot of these technologies. If you've ever been to Nigeria, people literally live on their smartphones, and they do all kinds of things on their smartphones, and they're creating local initiatives, local ideas to solve local problems with their devices. So they say those are the reasons that they've chosen Nigeria more than any other country.
Mm-hmm. With regards to innovation and tech hubs that we see, and specifically relating that to what is said, or Africa is said to have that digital skills gap, are we seeing a link possibly between tech hubs and the digital skills gap that we are experiencing in Africa come full circle?
Yeah, definitely, because what tends to happen is that people don't have spaces where they can be incubated, where they can get help for their ideas. I'm thinking of someone who's incubated as a tech hub here in Johannesburg called Ngcobo, for example. The app is called Let's Talk. So he's in Ngcobo. Comes up with this idea of an app that can connect government to citizens, or municipalities to citizens. He doesn't know where to go, what to do, so eventually he ends up in Johannesburg from Ngcobo. He ends up being incubated at a tech hub called Siphumelele, and from there he starts meeting other people who can fund his project. He now has UN funding as well, from people who are coming up with ideas that help with the development goals, and so yes, they do serve that purpose, especially if it's done right, if the link is found, if you find the right funding and the right venture capitalists that can come and see your entrepreneurs that you are incubating at your tech hub.
So that I just wanted to then, that would have been my next question. Apart from being in a tech hub where you are in a space that creates creativity per se, and productivity. What sort of other resources do you actually get to be able to take your idea and your creative energy to the next level, something that's feasible, something that's tangible, and that works?
What you find is that there are a lot of funding dinners, and if you are in the tech community and you link up with other people within the tech community, you can find out about those funding dinners where you can go and pitch your ideas to potential funders, because there are people who are angel investors or venture capitalists who are constantly looking for ideas that they can fund. And I remember one telling me that out of 10, you hope at least 3 are going to succeed. So they're constantly looking for entrepreneurs with new ideas that they can fund. So there are definitely a lot of methods. And I think it helps to be in a tech hub, because what might happen is that the tech hub might find out about those initiatives. And when they find out about those initiatives, then they let those that are incubated, those that are based at the tech hub, know about those ideas.
So you've just come back from Lagos. You shared with us your experience at this hub specifically for Google.
Yes.
You've also then mentioned your other experiences that you've had with tech hubs here in South Africa.
Yeah.
Have you noted any difference?
What I tend to find is that a lot of them localize, which is a good thing. They do localize their ideas. The Lagos one, the Google one in Lagos says if there are entrepreneurs that would have the funding to get to Lagos or need to get to Lagos, they're happy to open up to the rest of the African continent. It's often the fee, because that's a problem with most of them, because you find that entrepreneurs don't even have that fee to be part of these tech hubs. The location is often problematic. It's often being raised throughout the African continent. I remember this being raised in Cape Town, being raised in Mozambique as well, and the one in Lagos is in the upmarket suburb of Ikoyi. Is the location. That's a lot of them tend to be based in more affluent areas, and you wouldn't find them in the townships, which is where you might find that people really have a need to do this sort of things, to find the funding, find a space where they can be incubated. But I believe that the Innovation Hub, which is Pretoria based in South Africa, has an initiative of creating smaller versions called Ekasi Labs in the townships in South Africa. But location is often the problem. The fact that someone still needs to catch 2 taxis to get to a tech hub, where someone in the suburbs or someone near town, for example, can get there quite easily. People who don't have as much need as people who are in more impoverished areas.
Well, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon and sharing with us your experience.
Thank you very much,
of the Innovation Hub. Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Safely on the ground. Network's anchor and producer Siphumelele Zondi just taking us through his experience with the tech hub from Google, currently in Nigeria and Lagos, or Nigeria, Lagos. We're going to take a short break here on SABC News.